welcome back to my channel. My name's Gracie and I'm an artist and creator and maker of all sorts of things. So today I thought I would share with you a little sketchbook tour of this little bad boy right here. So I think for me this is a special experience because this is the first sketchbook that I've completed in its entirety. It's very small. It's a Moleskin watercolor sketchbook and the majority of my work is in watercolor, and I'm very proud to have finally finished it. I started it in March 2020 and I finished it in February 2022. So a long journey and a lot has happened in here and I'm excited to share it with you. Without further ado, let's jump right into this little sketchbook tour slash walkthrough. So yeah, like I said, this is just a Moleskin watercolor book. I believe it's like 7 inches by 5.5. I found I enjoyed working in this, but I am considering possibly moving into a different sketchbook, maybe a little bit bigger, which is out of my comfort zone, but we'll see. This sticker here on the front is from a friend who was really into vaporwave, and he had a bunch of extra stickers and shared one with me, and I thought it was fun. Not my aesthetic. So this entire sketchbook originally started out, I wanted to do a nature journal. So you're going to see lots of botanicals, you're going to see lots of nature artwork and drawings. And then I'd say maybe it took a little bit of a change because it definitely morphed into something a little different. So this first spread was just after a walk through the park in early spring of March 2020. This is what I intended my entire sketchbook to look like. I wanted it to be a journal of experiences and nature walks and things that I saw. This was a trip that I took with my husband to Hocking Hills, and it was just a wonderful weekend to just spend away, and we saw lots of really wonderful things. So I documented that all here, and I kind of continued that throughout this, just journaling different things. COVID happened, and didn't get to do as much as I originally wanted to. So this took a huge break. So I think I stopped painting in March for a long time. I didn't paint in this again until Inktober. So a long break. A lot happened in my life, so there was a huge reason why I just never got back to it. This little piece here is unfinished. It was just supposed to be some daffodils, and it's just one of those things that I could just never bring myself to go back to. I couldn't remember what reference photo I was using, but I'm okay with that. I do like the subtlety next to kind of the craziness. This was me doing all my tests for Inktober and kind of seeing just the different mediums I wanted to use and what color palette I was going for. So I actually don't do Inktober, I should say I do Peachtober. I did Peachtober prompts in 2020, and I feel like this was the most successful Inktober I've had. I feel like I had a really cohesive illustration style. Those first two pieces are my favorite. I'm just gonna say I was really into doing these little borders, and that was like the most fun, was like planning how I was gonna lay out each little piece. And I'm really happy with some of these, and then some of these I'm not happy with, because with Inktober you're just drawing something every day, and it's difficult to approach it with the mindset of having a completely finished piece. I'd like to approach it with the mindset of where I just sketch every day instead of actually creating a finished piece, because at some point I just get sloppy and I'm just rushing something out onto the page rather than considering doing an actual nice piece. I'd rather have sketches and go back and then create a real finished piece. But I like this body of work. I feel like this taught me a lot more patience and just more practice with a medium, especially with ink. I did ink, I did colored pencil, and I did a Posca pen. So this just goes on for a while. This one was very Over the Garden Wall inspired. Every time I see it, that's all I think of. This is the last one. And then we move on to where I think I got a little bit more experimental to some degree. This is where this notebook really changes again. This was a test pieces for a commission that I did for someone who's very sweet and reached out to me. So these are very precious to me because it was like the first bigger commission that I was doing, and I was really excited with the process and with what I was creating. So it was really fun to have this page in here. After that, again, none of these are dated, and I think this is where I just started taking large breaks between the art that I was making in this, mostly because I didn't have the greatest easy setup for doing watercolors, and it was probably winter or nearing the end of winter, and the holidays are always crazy, and you just don't make stuff like you do. So just got more experimental, just trying out different things, testing out future ideas. This little fox will hopefully return someday. I had a huge plan to do all the zodiac signs, and this was just like me playing around with an idea. And I still have all the sketches for, I believe, Taurus and Pisces, and they're on my iPad. I just haven't gotten around to getting to working on them. And then we kind of went back to, this is March 2021, so a year later. So we got back into nature journaling. I started doing porch sessions because it was nice weather in the spring, so I would sit out on my porch and I would just paint, and I'd paint all the things that I was seeing because I was working gardening every single day and working in beautiful gardens, and so I had a wealth of inspiration, poetry. I just wanted to get a lot more loose and consider this more of a sketchbook, more spreads, and I wanted to start filling up the entire page. So that's what you really start to see come to life. This little coxcomb sketch, I love this one so much. This is a park here in the town that I live in, so it was just, it's fun. So this spread is my favorite spread out of this entire book. I'm extremely proud of this work. And again, it was a porch session. I just sat down. I believe I started with the echinacea one day, and it just they're beautiful. I love them. These little cute fishies were inspired by a trip to Florida, and my friend was wondering if I could paint all the fish that we saw when we were snorkeling and diving and stuff like that. I really enjoyed sitting down to make these. Okay, and then this was a trip to the Outer Banks in North Carolina with my whole family, and so just some of the things that we saw and some of the plants, a little snippet of the house that we stayed in, and so that was really nice, kind of getting back into the journaling aspect of the sketchbook. Another one, when I started my old job back up again, just being outside all the time, being surrounded by beautiful things in bloom, and all of these little details that I experienced in my first week back at work. All right, and then another long break because that was August. Then this is a mishmash of fall that I actually didn't finish until the end of December. I finished this spread. So it was just me playing around, trying out new things. Again, just loosening up, and I like some of the stuff in here and some of it I don't, and that's okay. So these are the final couple of pages here. This was, Lord, I don't even know where this idea came from, but I wanted to do a snake. I like how it turned out. I wish that I spent a little bit more time thinking of the design and what I wanted to do, but I think it's cute. I'd like to recreate this someday and see just the different subtle ways I can change and just create a better shape and stuff with the snake. A peony, which is my classic go-to. I'm always trying to just paint a peony better. It's one of the things that I just love, and I would just like to see how much better I can represent them onto the page and more in my style. So this is probably the 4th or 5th peony that I have painted. Then here's most recent spread I did. You guys saw me kind of working on this in my previous vlog. I was eating a blood orange, and so it ended up on the page. And then I just wanted to practice some more natural shapes. I'm obsessed with leaves and little branches, They're really easy to paint, and they're really easy to paint, but I also find that I stick to like a very generic shape. And so it's nice to try. I looked at some reference photos for these. It's nice to try to get into that organic shape and just kind of trying out different looks compared to what's inside my head. So that was a nice experiment. And so I worked these 2 pages simultaneously. This is the last page of the book, and I wanted to just do some fun, big old goofy Lucy leaves and just have a really nice time with it. So that was really fun. And I filled it in with one of my favorite poems. And I'm gonna forget the name of the poem and the name of the person who wrote it. I'm pretty sure it's William Butler Yeats. And it reads, "I whispered, I am too young, and then I am old enough." And it's a really adorable little poem. It's one that I treasure a lot. So I like to end it with that. And then I have these beautiful little swatches. A friend of mine got me this stamp. I don't know how to swatch watercolors, as you can tell. So it's not that great, but I did also make these swatches over 2 years ago before I had quite as much experience with watercolor. So I'd like to do this again in my new sketchbook because it would be fun to see. That's it. We have a little pressed flower in there that is stuck there forever, and a pocket full of pictures and mementos and things. One of the biggest things that I collect. So that's it. That's all there is. Thanks for walking through this with me. Thank you so much for just hanging out with me while I flip through my sketchbook. I hope you found it interesting and that it inspires you to go out there and get a sketchbook, finish your sketchbook. Take 2+ years to finish a sketchbook, take 5 years. Don't put a time limit on yourself, because I really thought I was gonna finish that within a year. But you just don't know what's gonna happen in life, and you don't know what's going to utterly change your desire to create. And I put forward a lot of effort in creating other things and not focusing on watercolors at that point in time. So yeah, that's all that I have for you today. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.